Hi everyone, welcome to this lesson on early resistance to colonial rule. This is a very important segment in your syllabus for modern Indian history because a lot of questions come from tribal uprisings or revolts that were happening, many of them dating before 1857. तो आपको इनके बारे में जानकारी होनी चाहिए कि वो कहाँ पे हुई, उनका मेजर कॉज क्या था, कौन लोग एसोसिएटेड थे उन रिवोल्ट से, क्योंकि इस पर जो है इन डेप्थ सवाल पूछे गए हैं. In today's lesson, we will be learning about the Sannyasi rebellion, the Kattabomman revolt, Velu Thampi Dalava's revolt, and the Banaras rebellion, among others. A very interesting line that I'm going to quote here for you is "Ghoye par hauda, हाथी पर जीन, काशी से भागा वॉरेन हेस्टिंग्स." तो ये जो अभी आपने सुना, इसके बारे में भी हम बात करेंगे कि इसके क्या मायने हैं, क्या मतलब है इसका. Now, for the introduction, first of all, what you need to understand is that the establishment of colonial rule in India, this was a prolonged process of piecemeal conquest and consolidation. Piecemeal conquest क्यों? क्योंकि ऐसा नहीं था कि पूरे भारत को एक दिन में conquer कर लिया गया. It was a sustained process in which the British kept on occupying territory after territory, state after state, province after province, and then there was consolidation. And all this was done to fulfill the goals of British colonialism in India. Resistance against this colonialism that was spreading its tentacles all across the country took three forms. The first one was civil rebellions, the second one was tribal revolts, and the third one was peasant movements. अब इनको कैटेगराइज करने का मेन मकसद यहाँ पे यही है कि जब आप प्रिपेयर करें, जब आप पढ़ें इनके बारे में, तो इट विल बी इजियर फॉर यू टू स्टडी एंड सॉर्ट ऑफ memorize and then recall them based on these categories, because if you were to read them just all together, it may be a bit more difficult. So for civil rebellions, what is most important to understand is that they were not motivated by a sense of nationalism or nation, and it was mainly material interests or more localized and regional interests. And this is not to be taken in any way in a negative manner. You just need to understand कि nationalism का जो idea था वो काफी बाद में develop हुआ, ठीक है. तो पहले लोग अपने प्रोविंशियल या अपने रीजन या लोकल इंटरेस्ट के ही मुताबिक एक्ट करते थे, तो वो चीज आपको ध्यान में रखनी है. अभी होता क्या था that these people, they were coming together because the enemy was common. The leadership to these rebellions was given by deposed rulers or their descendants, uprooted and impoverished zamindars, polygars, etc. in South India, the ex-retainers, unemployed courtiers and demobilized soldiers of conquered states, and the backbone came from evicted peasants, rack-rented peasants, ruined artisans and craftsmen, and demobilized soldiers who could not find employment. अभी यहाँ पे rack-rented peasants सबसे पहले समझ लीजिए क्या होता है. I will try to spell it out for you. Rack rented. What does rack? I'm sorry about the handwriting. It's a bit difficult to write using this cursor, but never mind. Rack rented is basically those peasants who are being over exploited and exploited to get more and more revenue. उसका मतलब है rack rented. In any revolt or uprising that happens, any movement that happens, अगर आप present time से analogy draw करें, you will find that the main interest groups who are involved are those who in some way have suffered, but obvious, right? Because they know the repercussions of the faulty policies or whatever has been happening, and therefore they choose to take part in these movements. Now, these movements, they did not have any permanent leadership and no permanent political organization. For them, the proper term is spontaneous expressions. And for these movements, different people have used different terms. So, for instance, Sumit Sarkar and Kathleen Gove have chosen the term politics of the people. Sumit Sarkar has also written about pressures from below. And there is this work of Ranajit Guha, Elementary Aspects of Peasant Insurgency in Colonial India. So, as you can see from these names itself, there is a localized approach to these rebellions. And these sudden localized revolts normally erupted because of local grievances and because of suddenness or spontaneity, that they acquired a broad sweep but for a shorter period. In addition to the groups that we have mentioned, the Indian scholarly and priestly classes of both the Hindu and Muslim community also suffered because of colonial policies. अब ऐसा कैसे हुआ? हुआ यूं कि पहली बात तो there was this strict and very clear cut demarcation between we and they. This was sharpening day by day. तो जिसे कि अदरिंग कहा गया है. अगर आप में से कोई ने मुल्क फिल्म देखी हो, ऋषि कपूर, तापसी पन्नू etc. He says in one of the dialogues, he says कि ये जो वो हैं और हम हैं, ये जो क्लासिफिकेशन है कि अस एंड देम का, ये अदरिंग जो है, जिस दिन ये रुकेगी तब जाके एक्चुअल यूनिटी आ पाएगी. तो ये बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा था. दूसरी बात, डिस्प्लेसमेंट ऑफ ट्रेडिशनल रूलर्स जिन्होंने फाइनेंशियली सपोर्ट किया था स्कॉलर्स, प्रीचर्स, पंडित्स, मैन ऑफ आर्ट एंड लिटरेचर, मौलवीज, इन सब जो थे, they were without income now, and with their demise the whole system tumbled. The fatal blow came when the colonial government acquired without compensation the land grants given to religious and educational institutions given to Hindus and Muslims. And the education that had been imparted by traditional elements, because it did not have any role to play in the colonial state, इसलिए students stopped coming to traditional teachers also. This provided the ideological basis to rebellions. Why did they stop coming? We have mentioned this in one of the previous lessons also, that the sort of educational policies that the British were looking to undertake in India involved some level of modernization and westernization. जब आप उस तरह के आइडियाज, वन पार्ट इज ऑफ कोर्स टू इंड्यूस रैशनैलिटी, बट देयर इज अनदर इकोनॉमिक एस्पेक्ट टू इट. अगर लोग वो कहते हैं ना, मेरा जूता है जापानी, ये पतलून इंग्लिस्तानी, तो अगर आपकी सोच इंग्लिस्तानी होगी तभी तो आप उनके गुड्स और प्रोडक्ट्स यूज करेंगे, तभी तो आप उनके मैनरिज्म्स इमिटेट करेंगे, और तभी कहीं ना कहीं मे बी यू विल इनकर दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ मैन्युफैक्चर्ड रिस्पेक्ट for the British Crown and start acting for their better interests rather than your own countries. So all these things were happening and it led to further disgruntlement. Now let's talk about the Sannyasi Fakir rebellion. The area in which it happened was mainly Bengal and adjacent areas of Bihar. It was led by the Dasnami Sannyasis and the Madari Fakirs. And the discontentment was against arbitrary and high revenue demands, eviction of both peasants and zamindars, and the resumption of rent-free tenures for religious functionaries. This particular movement, it had clear-cut religious overtones, and it was led by some of the leaders such as Majnu Shah, Musa Shah, Bhavani Pathak, etc. The movement is very important also because it's devoid of any communal feelings between Hindus and Muslims. And other discontented elements also gradually joined them, leading to further strength and popularity of the movement. Then there was the revolt of Fateh Shahi at Sarang in Bihar and at Gorakhpur in Uttar Pradesh. And here the discontentment was general, especially against the enhanced land revenue. And Fateh Shahi was the name of the zamindar, and he was supported by popular elements. The next one is Devi Singh's revolt of Bengal, and ये 1782 का mainly है, और इसमें reason ये था, there was enhancement of land revenue, illegal exactions by local zamindars who were patronized by Devi Singh, and they were given the right to collect land revenue from Rangpur, Purnia, Dinajpur and Idarapur, right? And the first leadership was provided by Dheeraj Narayan in this particular case. The Banaras rebellion in 1781 is very, very interesting, and this is where in fact the quote that I told you about comes in. घोड़े पर हौदा हाथी पर जीन काशी से भागा वॉरेन हेस्टिंग्स. अब इसमें हुआ क्या था, that the Banaras rebellion was very much a revivalist rebellion, where the rebel leader was Raja Chait Singh, and he was supported by popular elements. Chait Singh initially he came to the throne and he started running the affairs of Banaras. But what happened is that Warren Hastings, he made certain demands of Chet Singh. For 2-3 years he demanded enhanced land revenue, and to top it all, then he sought a troop of 2,000 men from Chet Singh. Now Chet Singh, initially he was slow to respond. When he did respond, he only sent 1,000 men in total. Warren Hastings was not happy about this at all. So, he in fact issued an arrest warrant against Chet Singh, and he said that this is not done. Chet Singh was not one to step back. He said, I did whatever I could and there is nothing more I can do. I don't think I've done anything illegal. This obviously escalated, and finally it is said that so many people came to Chet Singh's support and to his help, that Warren Hastings' men were outnumbered and many of them were in fact driven away and killed. Meanwhile, Warren Hastings along with around 450 men had to seek refuge in the Chunar Fort. और चुनर फोर्ट में जब वो रहे तो वहाँ पे जब reinforcements आए तब जाके he could take over Banaras once again, by which time Chet Singh had already gone. So this is a very, very interesting story behind the Banaras rebellion. Then we have the revolt of Katta Boman. In Katta Boman's revolt, you just need to know that he was the ruler of Panchalan Kurichi. His full name was Veer Pandya Katta Boman, and he defied the British for around 7 years before he was captured and executed in 1799. The affected area was mainly Tirunelveli in contemporary Tamil Nadu. Okay, and now for the last one. What you see before you is the sword of Velu Thampi. And Velu Thampi, he basically, this was the revolt in Travancore. He was the Diwan of Travancore, and apart from the general causes behind this revolt, the special reason was the company's decision to remove the Diwan from the office. And when this happened, ये जो sword आपके सामने दिख रही है, एक बहुत अच्छा quotation है इंग्लिश में. कहा जाता है, when the sword of rebellion is drawn, the sheath should be thrown away. sheath वो होता है जिसे आप कहेंगे मयान, जिसमें तलवार रखी जाती है. तो इस कहावत का अर्थ यही है कि जब आप बगावत की तलवार उठाते हैं तो जो मयान होती है तलवार की, उसे फेंक देना चाहिए. और इत्तेफाक ही कहें कि ये जो वेलू थम्पी की तलवार है, इसका शीथ एक्चुअली आज तक मिला नहीं है, एंड दिस इज सेड टू हैव बीन यूज्ड बाय हिम ड्यूरिंग द रिवोल्ट. So these were a few of the revolts that we covered. There are some more which we'll be covering in the upcoming lessons, and meanwhile if you have any questions at all, please feel free to put them in the comments. Thank you.